And we're live. So welcome everybody to this remote interview. My name is Lisette and I'm interviewing people and companies doing great things remotely. I'm super excited. Today on the line, I have Davit Baghdasaryan. I want to say David somehow, but Davit Baghdasaryan.
Yeah.
And you are the co-founder and CEO of Krisp.ai. And I'm super excited to talk to you because people are raving about Krisp.ai. We'll talk about what it is in a second. If you don't know, you're about to be in for a great surprise. So David, you're located in Armenia right now. And let's start with the first question, which is, what does your virtual office look like? What do you need to get your work done?
Absolutely. Well, thanks a lot for having me here today. Well, first of all, our entire company is remote these days, as pretty much everyone in the world, right? And I wouldn't say that I was a big remote worker, although I have had a lot of chances in my life to work remotely, but not on a consistent basis. So I have probably like the most like I could be probably in a show called Minimalist with the setup that I have. I have like the most basic table here using for my laptop. I have my kids' book, which I'm using to hold my laptop on the table. And yeah, I have these nice pictures behind me. So this is super minimalist. But my laptop is all I need, right, to be productive, and the tools inside my laptop.
Yeah, we'll
I guess
totally get
that's
to
it.
that. So is there a minimalist philosophy or reason, or just that's just all you need and that's how you work?
Uh, I no, there is no like a serious philosophy behind that. It's just I guess I don't need a lot to be productive, and like I don't even use like big screens. I never use them, so like I'm pretty much attached to my laptop. I can be very efficient with it, right? So I don't know. It's a good question. It's the right time to keep wondering why is it the case. Maybe I need to get into some philosophy
Well, I mean,
related to
no, I think,
minimalism.
whatever works, right?
Yeah, my co-founder keeps saying me that I have that philosophy. Maybe there is something to it.
I love it. When I first moved to the Netherlands, I had one suitcase with me and that's it. And I remember feeling so relaxed because I just didn't own anything. Like I could go anywhere, basically it was just
Yeah,
like a weirdly freeing feeling.
no,
So
it's very powerful place to be when we don't have a lot of attachment, right, to things.
it's true. Yeah. And then since then it's exploded a bit. But let's get into Krisp.ai because I'm super excited to be talking with you. So maybe describe for people who've never heard of it, what is Krisp.ai, what Krisp.ai, and why is it so important?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very simple. I'm using Krisp right now, and I'm home. I have kids. They scream during calls, right? Sometimes, and there are different types of noises. Like I've actually uh, I have remodeling going on, not right now, but our neighbors decided to start remodeling, which is a bit weird during these times. But anyway, so I have Krisp now. If there are noises, you will not hear the noises, right? So if I clap now, you will
That's
not hear that,
amazing.
right?
So for
And
people who are
that's
listening, he was just clapping and I could see it, but we heard nothing. Amazing. Okay.
and well, if I turn it off and then clap, this is what you would hear, right? So turning on back. So yeah, that's Krisp. It works with it's pretty magical, right? There is a lot of technology behind it, but the way we designed it is very simple. It works with any app, like including Zoom, like Google Hangouts, Skype, anything, like 800 plus apps that our users are using it with, and it works with any headset and microphone. So it's pretty flexible in that sense. And there is no technology like this in the world, so which is good for us for now. That means that we are the only player out there, and now that people are working from home a lot, that you can imagine that it became a very popular and people are excited, and we are very proud and humbled that in this tough situation we have created something that people appreciate. So it's
I can
it's an
imagine
interesting time for the
so many
company.
people need this right now, especially working from home in weird situations. For people who are listening to this way in the future, we are right in the midst of the coronavirus right now. It's March 2020. And yeah, people are being forced to work from home, and kids, I mean, you're hearing all kinds of situations of, everybody's home now. And that's not how normally people would work. So I can imagine you're a lifesaver. Why did you create Krisp.ai to begin with?
Ah, that's a great question. Well, I was working in San Francisco for a company called Twilio, and
Hmm.
Twilio is in communications. So I used to travel a lot, especially for there were times when I was in Armenia, and I always wished there was a button, and because of time zone difference, right? It's like 12 hours difference, and when I needed to join my teammates, to do like our everyday calls, I wish there was a button I click and then they wouldn't know where exactly I am because of the noises, because I might end up being in very different places, right, because of the time zone difference. So, and that was like, that idea stuck in my head. And when I met my co-founder Arto, we discussed that, and he got very excited because as a technical problem, he loved it. He holds a PhD in math, also very business savvy. So he picked up the idea, and we started working on that after that. So now we have, that was like 3 years ago, and now we have a full, company working on that and the solution.
And was your company all remote before Corona, or?
No, so we are a global company today. We have employees in US, we have employees in Armenia, and then we have advisors throughout the world. But before this, there was a concentration of, in our office, physical office in Armenia. But in the last 2 weeks, we have been all working from home, and that's a good thing for our company, because we are building something for remote teams, and we always knew that there is going to be a time where most of the employees are going to be remote, and this was a good sort of kickstart for us to start this. I should say that in the last 2 weeks, I'm pretty happy on how the team has adjusted, like very quickly adjusted to this new, working culture, I would say.
And what were some of the growing pains that you experienced, like on day 1 and 2? What were some of the things you guys were really struggling with?
You know, it's interesting. Like, uh, I think we are not struggling. So in this, like, if I look back and look at these 2 weeks, uh, but 2 weeks is just like a short time span, right? It's like,
Yeah.
and then like there has been a lot going on in the company in 2 weeks, uh, and there's a lot of excitement, everything, a lot of work. So people probably are too busy uh, to struggle with problems. But anyway, so I think the transition has been very very smooth, and I'm sure we are going to like struggle in going forward. So, but like we use Slack, we use Zoom, we use all the right tools out there, and we use Krisp obviously, and uh, and I think the company was already set up to to at least to not be harmed too much with a transition like this.
Yeah, I can imagine the background noise on your calls at your company it must be awesome. Just total
Yeah, yeah.
silence. Yeah, I can imagine it's expected. Yeah, totally great. Yeah, because for me, what I really don't like is when everybody is on mute on a call, because it feels so inhuman. Like you're talking into the void. You can't hear anybody laughing at your jokes or responding, or like you can't hear, you don't get any of that verbal response. And so I really prefer it when everybody's unmuted, but then you get a lot of background
Yeah,
noise for the most part.
yeah. It's not just the background noise though, because these tools like Zoom, they do weird things as well, right? Because because it doesn't understand if it was a laugh or just saying and if everyone does that, so they're going to be like active, so there's going to be like a lot of things happening. So it's actually a pretty tough problem from experience perspective to design it right. I don't have the right answer from top of my head, but just keeping them unmuted is perhaps also not the best way.
Right. I just like if there's options. So yeah,
But I
indeed.
absolutely understand what you mean. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's just more alive, the conversation somehow. Otherwise, it feels like I'm giving a webinar, but I can see my audience, and so that is no fun. So then how many employees about does Krisp have, and how many countries are you guys working in?
So we have a bit more than 40 employees now, and we are out of 2 countries right now. Um, you know, this is about full-time employees, right?
Okay. Okay. And so what are some of the things that you guys struggle with in terms of working from a distance with your colleagues? Is it, I can imagine time zones get into that, but because it's 12 hours, you said, between the
Yeah,
US and Armenia, depending on where you are.
it's 11 hours. Well, the time we are probably in 3 time zones because we have distributed team in US as well, in Berkeley, Denver, Austin, and Yerevan, Armenia. So the time zone is definitely the biggest issue. Although I think the way we have set up our operations is that we are able to, uh, you know, we are. I wouldn't say that we are noticing a lot of struggle because of that, and it's a good question why we are not doing that because but it's not always on top of my mind in terms of like a big problem that we need to solve, right? Although one of the real struggles is that related to time zone is our customer support. So our team is right now in Armenia, and most of the customers are in US, so that's and we're gonna fix that soon, right? To cover more time zones, but that's definitely something that we need to fix. But other than that, I think. Um, yeah, the operations are set up in a way that it's okay to have that, that 10 or 8 hours of shift, and we
Okay.
are not blocking each other while, because of that.
Yeah, so I can imagine that's an organizational structural problem that you've set up, like if so that things are not dependent on each other and you're not waiting 11 hours before the next person gets online. Okay. What are some,
Yeah,
oh, good.
and I'm sorry, that's actually a key thing. Like if you have like teams who are interdependent, like highly interdependent, and they are in time zones like this, it's gonna be really difficult. We did have that experience at some point, and yeah, it definitely wasn't working well, and because of the time zone difference, right? So we have like kept separate all these independent teams within the same time zone, so to make it efficient.
And how do you guys align on like direct, like where you're going, what the, how do you operate as one team in one direction? What are the things you've put in place for yourself?
Uh, I guess like it wouldn't be a surprise if I said that one of the hard things with remote work is communication, right? And people like everyone says over communicate. I think that's like, people know about that. That's going to be the biggest thing. So we are trying to have a lot of written communication in Slack, right? So when you write something, you need to keep in mind that people who don't necessarily have the full context are going to come and read what you wrote, and they need to read what you wrote and understand the context. So you need to put more energy into what you write. So that's key, and it's not something that you learn overnight, right? As an employee, if you haven't been exposed to that, it comes with time. So we are trying to push that forward and make sure that organization wide people understand that. And then we do all hands, right? We do all hands, and we we are trying to make sure that that the teams who are remote, uh, they have all the information always up to date. And one of the things that is very has been very critical for us, and it's part of our DNA, I guess, core culture, is transparency, right? I like highly believe that if you have like the more information you share in the company, the more information you make available, it will only benefit the company and only allow, it will make it easier so that everyone, goes in the same direction, which is key for a company like ours at this stage, startups, right? Because even if we have, deviation from our main goal, a bit of that the harm is so, you know, so much that it can cause you a lot of trouble. So share. So what I tell my team is, whenever you don't know whether you need to share or not, simply share. Okay, it's an easy algorithm, it's an easy option. Just if you are not sure, share. So
Right.
and yeah, if you're not used to it, it's a bit weird, but then once you start doing that, it becomes very natural.
And given with that, I mean, because there's a line, right, in terms of sharing. We want to work out loud. We want to make our work visible. We want to be over communicating. But how do you deal with the always on, the 24, be 24/7? How do you deal with that with the people that you work with? Is there some sort of agreement that says like, okay, you won't get an email from me on the weekends, or is everybody in charge of their own boundaries? How do you guys deal with that?
We use common sense for that, right?
Okay.
So first of all, like, we don't require people to be 24/7. That's for sure. And actually, one of the struggles actually here that I keep hearing from the team in these last 2 weeks is that because you work from home, you don't understand where is the boundary. Like, just you work actually more than you were working in the office, because you know uh, this is my desk, it's my home desk and my work desk, right? If it makes people, I guess, to lose that boundary, and that's not a good thing. Like, companies, they are not doing sprints, they're doing marathons, right? And especially companies like ours. So finding that work-life balance is a key. So uh, you know and it's not, it's, again, you're not going to learn that overnight. You need to have that discipline, internal discipline, and then culture, and to feel okay with this. So we do have employees who are very new to this transformation, and they don't feel okay, uh, because especially in this lockdown situation, right, you're stuck at home, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, it's not just going remote, it's going remote and be locked down at home. So that's a very, very weird and difficult situation, but I think we'll overcome this
So
together.
what are some of the boundaries you've put in place for yourself, if you don't mind sharing, um, to keep you sane in terms of work-life balance? Because you're CEO and co-founder, so I can imagine your task list is never ending, and it's always going to be never ending because there's always more that you could do. So what things do you put in place to keep yourself sane and healthy?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's very, very different for me, I guess, and for my co-founder. As you can imagine, like, there are so many things that we do, and so many different things, right? We do every day. And in the past, when there was no lockdown, uh, you know, uh, like, staying healthy and doing sports, and in particular doing my jiu-jitsu. Brazilian jiu-jitsu was a very big part of my life, and I definitely wouldn't be able to do this company without that. And I am like, this is like extremely frustrating right now for me, that I'm not able to attend my classes for that. And I should say that I cannot do like be like this for a very long period. Like, I have to change things. I need to somehow do that at home. Sometimes I
Yeah.
force my wife to, start doing jujitsu with me.
Yeah,
It helps
desperate
both of
times, you
us.
know.
And then I go and try to do that with my kids.
Yeah, I mean, these Corona times are totally weird. I mean, for everybody. So our normal behaviors in lockdown, it's just, none of us are sort of doing the new normal. What have you told? What as a company have you guys done to sort of transition or keep yourselves sane and healthy amongst employees? Is there anything that's gone out that, how are you guys, like, how do you know how everybody's doing, and how do you keep everybody sort of on a healthy, productive level, if there is anything?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very important question. Um, so obviously, we are doing our one-on-ones. So one-on-ones are a big part of our company, right? And that it's a great way to understand the health of the company, right? The health of our teammates in terms of how burned out or how what's going on in their lives. And so we haven't done anything specific. Like as a company, we are very, as I said, we are very transparent and we communicate a lot. We are very frank with each other. So in that sense, like we, I think we have a good understanding where the team is, and also we are very proactive in fixing things as we learn them. Right? If you ask me, like, what can we do to make this easier and for the team, I don't have like exact answer right now, because I think we have done like pretty much we have provided all the tools, we have provided all the flexibility for people to create their own work-life balance. And some people are going to struggle with that, including myself, because of things that are unavailable right now, as for example the exercise, right? But then once we see that there are some issues, we are going to be proactively trying to fix this, right? And then enable people to be healthy and yeah, stay healthy and happy.
Yeah, I can imagine one-on-ones are really important right now, just across the board. Actually, they're really important anytime, pre-corona, post-corona. I can imagine one-on-ones from just to check in with people, like, how's it going? Is there anything you need? Yeah, I used to have a
Yeah,
boss that did that, and I loved it. We're still friends to this day because he did that.
yeah. I started that. Well, my manager was very good at that at Twilio. So there's a lot of things in insights that I got from that company. I love that company, even now. So and I think that these are very effective. Also, like another reason that I think the team is, like, I think I mentioned that, but there is a lot of excitement in the company right now because, as you can imagine, all the right metrics in the company for a startup, right? They're growing, exponentially, and so there is a lot of work to do as a company to keep up with that pace, and I think that motivates people a lot.
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't like this, if it wasn't growing like this, if it stagnated, I'm pretty sure we would have, more issues related to this situation, lockdown and everything. But people's minds are busy with all this excitement and everything that is happening with the company. So I think that makes our life a bit easier in this sense.
Yeah, there's sort of a cheerful excitement to see the product doing well and like things that you're working on doing and being useful in the world.
Exactly, being
Yeah,
useful, and people are very proud, and because you created something that so many people appreciate, right? In a tough
totally.
situation, there is probably nothing else that can motivate you more, when you're working for a startup or just any company, right?
Yeah, when you see what you've put out into the world is actually useful and people like it. Yeah, that's the best. I would say that's the best. So we're almost at the end of our time, but I've got a couple more questions I've just got to ask, which is,
Sure.
where do you find your people for hiring? There's a lot of people out there looking for remote workers. Where do you guys go?
You mean in terms of location
Or just, yeah, or how do you
or
do
like
it?
channels?
Which
Are we,
channels are you using to do it? Because I'm assuming the location is relatively unimportant,
yeah,
like people,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, so our hiring was mostly focused on US and Armenia so far. And we are an early stage company, so we don't have, big, requirement. I mean, we don't have a big, uh, like number of hires that we have planned for the next 3-6 months, right? We are very selective in that sense. So, like we have still we were able to scale to this stage by referrals, so which is the most efficient way of hiring, right? But at some point it's just not going to scale as a mechanism, so we'll need to find the right ways, especially for remote hires, right? We are still learning. I should be very frank there, like in terms of hiring remote employees. It's a learning curve. I think we are learning quite fast, because just in the last month we have hired from very like 2 different states in US, and that was a learning curve as well for our accounting, legal,
Oh,
employee
yeah.
benefit, happiness benefits, all of that. But we are able to overcome that. So next hires are going to be way easier.
Right. So learning as you go. And then,
Yep.
yeah, so kind of seemingly random question, but I can't remember. I wrote it down as you were talking about something, but when conflict comes up on your team, how do you guys deal with conflict? What are I don't know, are there procedures you put in place, or is there something where you say, like, okay, when it starts, it's one-on-one, you guys work it out between each other and then get a manager or a coworker if you need one? Or, but it happens on every team and people always ask, like, how do you deal with it? And totally hard, totally hard question.
No, it's a hard question, and I wouldn't say that we have many conflicts. We have been having many conflicts in the team, but it's something that it's unavoidable, right, in any company. And so, like, you know, some of the values that we have in our company, I think they're designed to minimize these conflicts, right? We are being transparent and being trying, like the 2 most important values that I can definitely talk about is one, transparency. I already mentioned that. The other is trying to be fair in every of our decision, right? And fairness is such a difficult thing, right? Because it's so subjective. And like, as the 2 co-founders, like every decision we make, whether it's about the company's future, if it's about promotion, if it's about like maybe not very important decision, everything is also judged from the perspective of fairness. Like, is this a fair decision, right? Is this fair decision, first of all, from customers and our employees and from our team's perspective? And that's a good sort of check to have, because it, like, long term, it also minimizes the possible conflicts, because people are going to trust by example, right? By looking at the history of decisions that, you know, that whoever made the decision makers have thought about the fairness perspective. So I think
Yeah.
that's one thing I would just mention here. Like, other than that, it's the rest is more like management skills. How do you manage through conflicts, right? It's a tough topic.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't solved it by any means myself. Personally, I have a really hard time in this area. But I do really like the idea of fairness and being able to trust people so that you feel like the company's got your back in a way. Because I've worked for a place once where I saw the CEO change the contract for somebody who was, I don't know, they was interviewing for something. It wasn't a job, but he changed the contract and he came out and he goes, ha ha ha. I told him that it was only something, but it's really 20%. And I just thought, oh man, you know, you'll
Yeah.
never trust that guy again after something
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, transparency and fairness, especially when remote, because people already out of sight, out of mind already causes
Oh yeah.
lack of trust. So
It's
yeah.
it's tough being remote. Like I remember, like especially it's tough being remote when the company is not remote. Like when I was at Twilio, the company like we had a very high concentration of people in the headquarters, San Francisco. And when I was traveling, like being in Armenia, I was the only person in the team remote. Like it was tough because you don't have the context, and there is so many like thoughts going in your head, but that's all like it's all wrong, right? All that context is wrong.
Yeah.
And it just keeps explored, just increasing your head. But it's like, so you might end up in a situation, yeah, that you are just your view of the world is so wrong, and then your decisions and your conclusions will be wrong again also. So that's why over communication, transparency, and fairness are three very important tools to keep the team very healthy.
Love it. Love it. Over communication, transparency, and fairness. Yeah. Can't get that's a great summary, actually. So we'll end with that. But okay, so I've got two more questions. The last one's really easy, but the next one is, what advice would you give to people who are just starting out? Maybe they're just starting out on remote, or they're just exploring this world. What would you say to people?
Yeah, I wish that you know the place that they're working at allows them to be productive and embrace this situation, right? I'm sure that's not possible with every type of job out there, right? And it's very difficult to give one advice to everyone. But like in general, like this is a good thing. There are a lot of benefits that we as a community can have from working remotely, working from home, because one of the examples I really like is, this is the only way I know that we can decrease the traffic in the world, right? And that's when I had that insight, it was like, oh my God, there must be more of work from home or work remotely. So like just embrace this situation and embrace the change, right? Because I'm pretty sure that and this is what our company's vision also is based on, like in the future this is going to be the norm, and like the sooner we embrace it, the sooner we will embrace the norm, right? So the sooner we will be part of this revolution. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Indeed, because there are a lot of really good things, and we see the difference in pollution right now after just
Yep.
2 weeks of people being on lockdown. It's kind of incredible, actually, the things that we've been seeing. So indeed, we can do better in terms of global warming and climate change just through remote work itself. I've thought that for a long time. So last question, which is, if people want to learn more about you, and where would they go besides Krisp.ai, which I will put in the show notes, but if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Yeah, I think my email is the best way. Davit at Krisp.ai. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, very available and easy to get reached out to. So feel free to ping me. Absolutely.
Great. And I'll put those links in the show notes for people. Well, Davit, thank you so much for your time today and your insights. I took copious notes, as people can see. I took copious notes, and really appreciate it. I look forward to sharing this story when it comes out. Thank you.
Thank you so much.